Hello, everybody. Welcome to Stress Less Naturally. My name is Jenna Pacelli, and I am a board-certified holistic health coach and yoga instructor. And I help people navigate radical life challenges and come out the other side happier, healthier, and more vibrant than they ever thought possible. So this topic is very near and dear to me, just in terms of what does stress mean and why, how do we deal with it, and what are the deeper effects of stress and the deeper consequences. So we're going to be talking all about that today. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. Okay, so who am I and what do I do? So like I said, I am a board certified holistic health coach and yoga instructor, and I specialize in helping people navigate challenging life situations and changes and helping them heal at the physical, emotional, and spiritual levels. I'm going to pause this for 1 second. I think somebody's trying to get some help from me. Okay, so going back to our presentation. So I believe that Eastern and Western healing modalities can be used together and to complement one another. So it's not that we shun all Western medicine or we only stick to Western medicine and don't consider alternative therapies, but the two can come together quite naturally and beautifully if we are taking care of ourselves in a really thorough way. So with my clients, I will always exhaust every natural solution first and foremost before I turn to Western medication, often because they come with so many side effects. So this is the opposite usually of what is happening in our society, especially in the United States. And because most people are turning first toward medications and then looking at, if at all, looking at their diet and looking at other things that could be going on. So I use natural solutions, including essential oils, in my work with my clients. So in terms of stress, we need to consider all areas of our lives. This is called the circle of life, and it's an activity that I use with most of my clients, if not all of them, when they first start out. Or start out working with me. So what you're seeing here is an activity. So if you want to pause the video after listening to these instructions, you can do so and do this on your own. But you're going to draw the circle with each line and label each line, and you're going to draw a dot on the outside, towards the outside of the circle on the line for that respective area of your life if you're happy with that area, and then a dot towards the inside of the circle on the line if you are less satisfied with that area of your life. So let's say I'm feeling a lot of joy in my life. I'm going to draw a dot on the outside, towards the outside edge of the circle on the joy line. And then if I'm feeling like my social life is just okay, I might draw a dot in the middle of the line on social life. And then from there, you're going to connect each dot to one another. So joy over to social life, and social life to relationships, all the way around to create your unique shape. So in terms of identifying triggers of stress, we want to be sure we are looking at every area of our lives, and you're going to see what those areas that need addressing are when you do this exercise. So if you'd like to pause the video and do that, you can. So I have certain my go-to natural solutions for stressing less. So the first thing that the foundation of all of my work in my own life and with my clients is looking at food, because food can either be the most powerful form of medicine or the fastest form of poison. So this is hugely important to consider, because when we are putting the right foods in our bodies, our minds and body and psyche and emotions and energy are more equipped to handle stress in our lives. I cannot stress this enough. When you're putting foods that are stressful for the body, things like meat, dairy, sugar, processed foods, those things, putting those things in the body stresses the body even more and reduces our ability to handle stress on a day-to-day basis. So then my next go-to, which is also part of my daily life, are yoga and meditation. Yoga and meditation are profoundly powerful in allowing us to learn how to deal with stress, how to look at stress and view stress, and how to navigate those things on a more healthy, wholesome level. Okay, so that's a whole nother class in itself about the effects of yoga and meditation on stress and our ability to handle stress, but I'll say that for now. Essential oils, wonderful. We're going to be talking about them today. And supplements, of course. When I can't get certain nutrients from my food, I will turn to supplements, and I will use these to support the body in receiving the nutrients it needs. So the first thing we want to do when we think about our stress, we want to clarify what's going on. So most of us or many people, a large majority of the population in the West especially, is very head up. So we think we're very intellectual, and we might be, but to the point that we're disconnecting from our emotions. And even people who consider themselves emotional people could connect with their emotions better. And people that feel that they're just intellectual people or just head people are actually emotional people, except for the fact that they're definitely not connected or as connected to their emotions as they could be and should be. So if you look here, this is kind of a funny little chart, but it's helpful because we can see the faces of these little cartoons and their corresponding emotions. So we have anything from guilty to confident to disgusted to ashamed to hopeful. And when stress and anxiety can kind of be blanket terms for deeper emotional issues that are happening. So when we can start to look below the surface by looking at the circle of life, what's going on, what's triggering us, and then clarifying, diving deeper and tapping into what's going on emotionally, then we can start to unravel and work through what's really going on. So let me just see, pausing here for a second, helping people with technical issues. Hi, Amanda. I just got your, okay, cool. So we're moving on. And this is another more adult type of, not that the other one wasn't, this one could be very effective in helping people identify what's going on for them. But this is also really helpful because we have more, they're very specific. So we see that at the top, love, joy, surprise, anger, sadness, fear. These are very much, they're pretty surface level. And when we can start to tap into the deeper underlying emotions, we can work through them and process them. And this is kind of like a roots up sort of way of dealing with stress. So rather than me telling you, here's all the things that you can do for stress, sleep more and kind of surface level sort of helpful tips, I'm going to the deeper roots of what's really going on. And if we can look at these things, then the stress becomes, we heal that tendency towards stress when we can look at what's really going on. So it's like the rule of tacks. If you're sitting on a tack, don't take aspirin. We want to come off the tack, pull the tack out of our butt, and deal with what's really going on, right? So it's not about putting a Band-Aid on something. It's about looking at what's happening. So this is why we're talking about this. So joy, surprise, even joy and things like joy and fear and sadness tend to be a little advanced for some people to identify with, especially in my work with my clients. Sometimes it's just I'm angry or I'm happy, or very, very black and white. So The expectations, these are huge in terms of contributing to our our stress levels. So when well, first of all, let's look at this picture here. So he is holding on for dear life. You can see he's gripping onto the thing that he's hanging on. He literally, it probably is, looks like some sort of Star Wars or something, not Star Wars, but some sort of movie where he's probably literally hanging on for dear life. But most of us are not hanging on to our lives by the tips of our fingers. And so, but we think we are. And so this gripping, I want to talk about this gripping and expectation. So the first idea is shoulding on people. And it's kind of a joke, but it's also not. So shoulding on people is definitely a play on words around the idea that we don't want to apply the word should. Should is a word that I use very intentionally and quite rarely. And so, I say that because when we should on ourselves and should on people, we create an environment of expectation that can be unhealthy and not helpful. So what I often will replace the word should with is could, because should and could are two different things. Could allows the possibility of another option. So if I say, to my client, you really should eat more vegetables. Well, okay, but it sounds very different than if I say, you could eat more vegetables. You could. It's possible. Yes, that's an option, right? And the person doesn't feel trapped into your expectations for them. And then the flip side is true for ourselves. Like if we keep saying, oh, I should do this, I should do that, there's this, it's nagging. It's this feeling of nagging that creates more stress than we need. So, I think that just become aware of whenever you say should, do you really need to use that word? And sometimes we do. Sometimes there are things where people really should do something, or we really should do something, like we really should pay our bills. We really should eat right now because we're hungry. It's not that we never use a word. It's just the idea is to become aware of the effects of that word. The second idea is attachment to the outcome. Now, we talk a lot about this in the style of yoga that I teach based on my teacher, Dharma Mitra. So in Dharma Yoga, we talk a lot about offering up the outcome to something greater or wiser than ourselves. So when we can offer up the fruits of our actions and simply focus on the process, everything shifts. And a lot of stress is relieved, because if you say, okay, I'm going to focus on, let's say for this, I'm just going to focus on presenting this class online, and it doesn't matter who shows up. It doesn't matter, if people, it doesn't really matter like what comes of it. I am just offering myself up 100% from a place of wholeness, from a place of care. And in that process, people will gain something from it. I can help somebody. Even if it's just one person, even if somebody watches it after the fact and they gain something from it. So there's a difference between saying, oh my gosh, I have to have 20 people in my class. I have to, or 100 people in my class, or I have to do this so that I meet this goal. And it's not that we're not setting goals. It's that we're loosening our grip. Okay, so we're not looking like this guy down here, gripping onto the outcome. And this is going to relieve a lot of stress. So this is something to ponder in your life around, how am I gripping emotionally, mentally, and how is that causing stress for me? So the third idea is our mindset around things. And I'm going to specifically give an example around time. So in my life, sometimes my relationship with time is an interesting one, because I have realized that I have a choice in whether or not I'm on time or late all the time. And I've definitely been both during different periods of my life. And when the difference has been, when I was late all the time, I had very subtle ideas and beliefs or thoughts around how much time I needed in between something. And it was the difference between being realistic and being less than realistic and not really caring. So for example, if I said, okay, I have a call from 8:30 to 9, and I'm trying to make an appointment with my massage therapist, for instance. Am I going to make that massage appointment right at 9:15 when it takes me 5 minutes to get over there and I need to eat breakfast? Well, I might. I could. And that's how I might do things in the past and how I've done things in the past. But then or I could be a little more realistic and say, okay, I have this, I need to schedule with my massage therapist. So I'm going to make it for 9:30 or even 9:45. So even though I feel like that's probably more time than I need, it may not be. And that will allow me to get there on time, respecting the massage therapist's time, but also allowing me time to get there and have breakfast and not be stressed about it. So I'm not rushing around like a crazy person. So that's the power in shifting the way we view something. And it takes a little bit of work to learn how to do this. So so thinking about these things, how are you setting yourself up to be stressed in your own life, right? So are you giving yourself more time, even if you think it's at too much time? It might not be. Like maybe your car runs over, right? And then you don't have that feeling of stress and driving like a bat out of hell to get to where you need to go. Okay, so then we've already kind of talked about the next point here, but process over outcome. So I'm going to reiterate this again because it's so important. Our expectations around outcome is so powerful that the Buddhas talked about it, the yogis have talked about it for thousands of years. It's something that can be quite toxic. Okay, so I'm going to give another example. In one of my past relationships, which was pretty decently healthy relationship, but it wasn't the healthiest I think I'll ever be in, and I've grown a lot since then. But when I was in this relationship, and I had this really strong attachment to getting married, and I was pretty young, and I really loved him, and at the same time, that attachment, that gripping to that outcome stressed him out and it stressed me out. And rather than just experiencing the process of loving another human being for what it was, I was overly attached to that outcome, and he started to resent me and I started to resent him because we weren't meeting this. Neither of us were having this expectation met around he just wanted to enjoy the process, which was normal for a guy of his age. And then I was forgetting that I needed to enjoy the process. And maybe had I, and I say this with a grain of salt because it wasn't the right relationship for me, but perhaps there could be had I just enjoyed the process, maybe our relationship would have been better. And maybe that possibility of marriage could have been more in our playing field, more in our consciousness, and more of a reality for us. Now, granted, again, it was not the person I was supposed to marry, so it didn't happen that way, which was right. But it's the difference between process over outcome, and how when we commit to the process, usually the outcome is better than we could have ever expected. That's the difference. So that brings me to the next thing: is detachment does not mean apathy. The Buddha said that he emphasized, and Gandhi and Mother Teresa and Martin Luther King and all of these luminary beings, they emphasized the nonviolence, right? And that didn't mean apathy. That didn't mean passivism. And detachment does not mean apathy. So it doesn't mean that by detaching ourselves from the outcome that we are not setting goals or we're not striving for things in our lives. We are. But it's because we are doing it because it needs to be done, which is what my teacher Dharma always says. We're doing it because it needs to be done. It's not that we're not doing it for the outcome. That is not our intention. That is not what we're trying to do. Okay, so there's a difference. So other tools to be more effective in our lives in terms of handling stress. So I love the book 4 Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss, who's also a San Franciscan. He is brilliant in teasing out, making complicated things simple and cutting out the fat in our lives. And what I mean by that is cutting out the things that we're doing that we don't need to be doing, because we think that being busy is it means that we're being productive. Productive and effective are not the same thing as busy. And he teaches a lot of really amazing tools to help us be more productive and effective and less busy. So highly recommend that book. Time management, again, is everything you do necessary? For example, I know someone who feels the need to balance their checkbook 4 different ways every month. Okay. And when they do their taxes, they have somebody go through all of these things and write things out probably 2 or 3 times. Okay, this is borderline OCD. It's a little bit OCD, and I don't mean that in like a clinical term, but it could be. And we need to look at these things. What am I doing that is not productive and it's not helpful, and cutting those things out. So it's a little bit of a minimalist idea. Like we're just focusing on the things that are really important for us, that light us up, that make us excited. And that also involves saying no to certain things, to saying no to certain people, to saying no to certain opportunities. And the more we become effective with our time, and the more we are, the more highly respected that we become as well, the more opportunities we're going to be presented with, and the more we're going to have to say no. So I know some really successful entrepreneurs will often say things like my most commonly used word in my vocabulary is no, because I have to focus my time, and that's a huge reason why they got where they are, because they only focus on the things and the opportunities and the people that were going to help them improve themselves and evolve. Some other tools in terms of health and well-being are to cook in big batches. So I tell all my clients, and this is hugely beneficial for those of my clients that are extremely busy, is to cook in big batches. So cook once, eat 2 or 3 times from that batch of food. The other thing is a community-supported agriculture, or CSA. It's awesome. There's one in the Bay Area called Farm Fresh to You. That's the one that I use, and you get to choose what size you want, what kind of box you want, and they deliver it to your house. So this is a wonderful way to get local, organic, fresh produce and other foods, whole foods, to your doorstep, and then you don't have to go shopping. And then the third is to add a boost to everything you eat. So what I mean by that is, if you're having a smoothie, put a little kale in it, a little spinach, a little, if you're having just mixing things in, like maybe having pasta, then put some vegetables in there, or or salad, put some lentils in there. So adding something in, adding healthy foods and superfoods into the things you already eat to increase their nutrient density profile. So mindfulness and meditation, I want to talk about this because it's highly effective in terms of dealing with our stress. So I want to cover this briefly. So I'm just going to cover the basics, because this is something that if you're interested in, you can come to my classes. I teach in the East Bay and in the city, and you can go to my website, jennapichelli.com, for my schedule, or finding a teacher that resonates with you that can teach you these things, but highly, highly effective. So the first thing that you want to think about in terms of meditation and yoga, the definition of yoga is the settling of the mind into silence. Okay, sit with that for a moment. The settling of the mind into silence. So the yoga is not just the postures that we do. The yoga is very much the meditative aspect, the mental aspect. Okay, asana, the word asana that we use, that refers now to the postures that we see in yoga, are really originally just meant to take a seat, according to Patanjali, who wrote the Yoga Sutras about 4,000 years ago. So asana means to take a seat. There are 8 limbs of yoga, and the last 4, the more advanced 4, are all about meditation. They're concentration, meditation, absorption with divine, and then samadhi or bliss, enlightenment. So we watch the breath initially. So sitting peacefully, sitting quietly, you want the spine to be straight. And you want to just watch the breath. The breath is with you for your entire life. And you get a limited amount. And when the breath stops, we stop. Okay, that's it. We know we cease to exist. We die if we are not breathing. Okay, obviously we all know this is a fact of life. It only takes, a couple of minutes. And so while we have breath, we use the breath because it is the one thing that is always constant in our lives. So we use the breath as an anchor for the mind. So if you watch the breath coming in through the nose, imagine it traveling up to the third eye and then back out the nose. Sit and watch that. Just observe that. Observe that process. So that is the first step. Sit for 5 minutes. Set a timer, a calm one. Don't set something that's really jarring. There's an app called Meditation, and it's a little brown. It's got a little brown icon with a little person sitting, like a figure person sitting in a cross-legged position. That's a great app because you can use different sounds to bring you out of your meditation. So that is hugely, that's the first step. So just sit there. Sit 5 minutes every day. It's better to sit for 5 minutes every day than an hour once a week or an hour once a month. 5 minutes every day. And then remember that constant practice is the secret to success. So this comes from the Bhagavad Gita, which is an ancient yogic scripture, ancient yogic text. And we understand, and the more that I work with people, the more that they understand this concept is and apply it in their own life. So rather than being like a weekend warrior or something, and only exercising on the weekends, for instance, they learn that it's their daily habits that create who they are. So this is the same with yoga and meditation. So if you can create a mindfulness practice for yourself every day, this will reduce your stress significantly. If you apply all of these terms and principles to your life, little by little over time, you can't do it all at once, but you slowly integrate these things into your lives, your stress rate will reduce significantly, and your joy quotient will increase tenfold. And then remember that you are the witness, and you are not your body. You are not your mind. And you are not your emotions. You are simply pure consciousness. So this is the essence of yoga. This understanding, this is called self-realization, and it's not an intellectual understanding. So I can teach you these things, and it's helpful, but you have to meditate on the truth of them. You have to explore these things for yourself. Hearing me talk about it, hearing other teachers talk about it is not going to help you understand it in a way that will be effective necessarily. So the intellectual understanding is the first step. So this is the first step, but then you have to practice these things. So I like to bring in the metaphor of a dirty mirror. So let's say you're standing in front of a mirror and you're looking in the mirror and it's dusty. It's been sitting there for a while. It hasn't been cleaned. There's fingerprints on it. It's not, but it's a beautiful mirror. And if it was clean, it would reflect a little more clearly. Now, what most of us do is we look in the mirror, that dirty mirror, and we say, wow, I'm really dirty. Rather than saying, oh, it's the mirror that's dirty. And this causes so much stress. This lack, it's an ignorance, and I don't mean ignorance as in stupidity. It just means ignorance, it just means a lack of knowledge. So it's ignorance in the area of understanding who we truly are. And that is limitless consciousness, infinite universe, Brahman, Atman, all these things, right? And our true nature is clear, peaceful, calm, serene, happy, balanced, joyful. It is not the dirtiness that we often associate ourselves with. And the dirtiness, what the mirror represents, is the body, the mind, the emotion, the things that tend to fluctuate, the things that change, that kind of pull the rug out from under us sometimes unexpectedly, right? So this comes back down to understanding who you truly are. And this is where the practice of yoga, in the larger sense, not just, getting a six-pack because you're at yoga doing chaturangas all day. Okay, this is the purpose of yoga, and this is the purpose of our lives, to understand who we truly are. So again, experience highly trumps intellectual understanding. So this requires to be able to absorb these concepts, especially on this slide, the mindfulness and meditation concepts. It needs to be practiced, preferably under the supervision of a very competent, knowledgeable teacher. Okay. And then you can start to understand these things at a very deep level over time. Okay, moving on. So I want to talk about essential oils because they have been hugely beneficial in my life and hugely beneficial in my clients' lives. So everyone, like you see here, everyone experiences moments of disconnectedness and anxiety. This oil called Balance, which is just one of many that I use with my clients, you can see here on the left is a picture of somebody's blood. And they were stressed, they were anxious, and you can see the blood is not moving very well. If you saw the video of it, you could see it. They're kind of clumped together. They're moving slowly. They're sticking together like that. Then applying 1 drop of Balance, this Balance blend from doTERRA. 30 seconds later, the cells, you can see these are the same, from the same person, are separated. They're flowing freely. They're more individuated, and they're not sticking to one another. So this blend is grounding, helps create a sense of calm and well-being, and helps us feel stronger, more courageous, and balances out the nervous system, okay, out of many other benefits. So why would we use essential oils? So what are they? They are natural aromatic compounds found in the seeds, bark, rind, and leaves of plants, and they're extracted and distilled for our use and benefit. So they work with the body at the cellular level. The essential oils, because they're oils, can pass through the blood-brain barrier. They can pass through the cells of our, or the walls of our cells. Whereas most medications, even natural medications, are water-based and they can't do this. So the oils are highly effective, highly potent forms of natural medicinal compounds, okay, that can penetrate through the cell wall, making them highly effective in small doses. And this is really important because they have hundreds of different compounds, different oils of different compounds that allow us to combat threats without building up resistance. So this is different than over-the-counter meds and medications and prescription meds. There are so many side effects and consequences of taking some of these Western meds that we see huge. I think one of the most abused kinds of drugs is prescription drugs now. And so we have an issue, we have a problem. And so this is why I use essential oils in my life and help in my clients' lives. So what, let me see here. Okay, so certified pure therapeutic grade, the CPTG. This is the kind of oil that I use, and this is the only kind that the only kind that I use. So in 2008, the founders of doTERRA created the company in order to they wanted to make pure, unadulterated, natural solutions that could be available to everyone. And CPTG oils are used in over 1 million homes and by millions of people. And research continues to support the uses of essential oils in healthcare, in our ability to care for our health, and preventatively. So you can go to aromaticscience.com and find thousands of peer-reviewed scientific articles about the effects and benefits of essential oils and aromatherapy. So certified pure therapeutic grade, it focuses on plants harvested in their natural habitat. For example, the best frankincense comes from the resin of frankincense tree grown in Somalia. Okay, so doTERRA sources, for instance, the frankincense from Somalia, because that's where we're going to get the most potent, purest oil. Other things like lemon and lavender, we source our oils from all over the world. And this is incredible because not only is that giving us the most potent form of oil, we also are supporting the local farmers and growers that with a fair wage, with many other, like the owners will often go to these places and visit the farmers and the workers that are creating or growing these plants for us, and making sure that they are receiving everything that they need to live a healthy, happy life, even if going to these countries is dangerous, like Somalia, for instance, or other places like Oman and Yemen and things like that. Certified pure therapeutic grade also means stringent third-party testing of every batch to ensure powerful benefits without the harmful side effects. So doTERRA tests every single oil. And it's not doTERRA, it's a third party. So we're not the ones testing it, but they are making sure that they are 100% pure. So it goes beyond organic. It's verified pure. It's free of filters, pesticides, and foreign contaminants. This allows us to take them internally. And this is the only brand of essential oils that we should take internally. I'm teaching a class right now. Okay. So we are talking about mood management specifically and stress management. So what can we use to aid the body in reducing our levels of stress? So the 4 most popular mood management oils are Elevation, Serenity, Citrus Bliss, and Balance. We already talked about Balance, but Serenity is calming, helps people fall asleep. So people who struggle with insomnia tend to love Serenity. Elevation is wonderful for when we're sad, when we're feeling depressed, maybe if we're experiencing grief. And Balance is great for anxiety. And depression is wonderful, or depression is not wonderful. Citrus Bliss is wonderful for depression. So you can use these oils topically, aromatically, and they will help lift your mood. So I haven't filled a prescription at a pharmacy for myself. I can't remember the last time actually, because I've been using essential oils instead. And this is not to say that essential oils cure cancer, or although there is research now that's coming out that frankincense, it might be highly effective towards combating cancer, but that's another topic. And so I have not filled a prescription. Why? I haven't. First of all, I start with my foundation of healthy natural food, and then when in the times that I do find myself getting sick, I turn to the oils first. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to eventually maybe use a prescription if I need it, if I absolutely need it. But for instance, I had food poisoning a couple weeks ago, and I used DigestZen to help settle my stomach. Had some ginger tea, and slept for a while, and I was back to normal the next day. Another one of my colleagues had strep throat. It was verified by her doctor. They tested it was definitely strep throat. And she used she did a protocol with the oils, taking them both internally and topically. And in 2 days, her strep throat was gone. So I can't, we cannot say that they cure anything because the FDA does not allow us to say that, but I will let these stories speak for themselves because they have often been more effective for me than taking like an over-the-counter flu medication that just makes you groggy and tired and dizzy and whatever. So I can go on with more stories like that, but they are incredible. So this is my natural medicine cabinet. This is the way that this is the direction that I steer my clients in because they're so pure and they're just plant-based and you're not going to have any of the side effects or the habituation that can come with prescription meds. So we can see here, for instance, oregano oil is similar to NyQuil, Dayquil, Freeze-Away, Tylenol, Motrin, Aleve, throat lozenges, Pepto-Bismol, Tums, Mylanta. Lemon can be equivalent to Tylenol, Motrin, throat lozenges, Imodium AD, Pepto-Bismol, Mylanta, Tums, Children's Tylenol, and Motrin. So we see a lot of these overlap as well in terms of their therapeutic benefits. And lavender, very soothing for the skin. I've seen photos of a child with third-degree burns all up their arms, and they applied lavender for a couple of days, and within the week, the child's arms were significantly better. I mean, significantly, and much faster than they would have expected with a regular medication. Okay, Deep Blue, wonderful for aches and pains, for people have used it on broken bones instead of Vicodin. So Tylenol, Motrin, Aleve, Bengay, Thermacare, and it doesn't smell so strong and is not as overpowering as things like Tigers or Bengay and things like that. Okay, so the systemic response of essential oils as well, there's a physiological effect. So you can see that the essential oils work by stimulating change in specific functions within the body. So if you put peppermint oil on the feet of a baby and then put a pacifier in their mouth, and by the way, peppermint, a drop of peppermint has been proven to be the equivalent of about 1,000 milligrams of acetaminophen, which is the active ingredient in Tylenol. And so if you put that a couple drops of essential oil on the baby's feet, put a pacifier in their mouth, and then come back 20 minutes later, pull the pacifier out, you'll be able to taste and smell the peppermint on the pacifier. So this is a great example of how the essential oils work. They will spread throughout the body systemically. And what that means is it will go from the feet all the way through all the cells of the body, the bloodstream that we saw with that balance oil, separating the blood out and purifying things all the way to the point that you could taste it on somebody's breath. Okay, so and also you can see here that there are potentially no tissue bearers to essential oils within the body. So like I was saying earlier, unlike Western medications that are mostly water-based, and we know that oil, if you put oil and water together, they don't mix. You can't mix them up. The oil will always stay separate, but if you mix oil and oil together, they go together. So it's basic science, like 6th grade science, okay? And then essential oils can selectively target specific cells and, again, triggering systemic responses. And the unique structural characteristics of essential oils give them the independence to influence cellular activity. So it can help our genes express in a healthier way. So stress in the body affects us at a cellular level. So if we can manage our mindset, manage our food, manage our expectations around life, learn mindfulness, and use essential oils, everything is going to operate at such a high level that you will be shocked. Okay, so that was the end of the PowerPoint. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Okay, so if you let me know if you have any questions about that. So that was our stress less uh, presentation class. So let me know if you are interested in bringing essential oils into your life. I can help you do that. And if you have any other questions, you can, I think you can raise your hand. Let me see here. Showcase, question and answer. How does that happen? Okay, so let me see here. Okay. So yeah, I'm still figuring this thing out, but yeah, you can type a question in the chat box if you'd like, or whatever works for you. If there aren't any questions, then I will go ahead and end the call. But that is the class for today. So if you are interested in working with me further, you can visit my website at jennapacelli.com, and the last name is JennaPacelli.com. And again, I help people navigate very difficult life changes and stressors and help them come out healthier, happier, help people rebuild their lives in that way. So if you want to connect with me via email, jenna@jennapacelli.com, and you can follow me on all over social media and stay connected with me. And I put these classes on every week, so they're free. I present the same thing three times a week. So just making one is wonderful, but you don't need to come to them all unless you want to hear the information twice. And that's my gift to my tribe, my following, and so that you can learn as much as you possibly can from me, if you're not ready to work with me yet. So that is it. I hope you experience less stress, more joy, more happiness, and a smoother process of handling your stress and anxiety. So thank you. Have a beautiful day, and namaste.